Bhagavad Gita study circle. I don't have any announcements. So off to you, Sai Swarup and Sister Sharda.
Thank you. Sai Ram to all. We are continuing with Rajavidya Yoga. And today I'm explaining verse 3. This Rajavidya, the most confidential knowledge, in English if it translates, Rajavidya Yoga, the most confidential knowledge, the heading is, verse 3 is, Ashraddha Danaha Purusha Dharmasyasa Param Tapa Aprapya Ma Nivruttante Mrityu Samsara Nivartmani. So, ashraddha dhanaha purusha dharmasyasya param tapa aprapya ma nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. So, the translation is, word by word translation is, ashraddha dhana means people without faith, purusha means such persons, dharmasya means of dharma, asya means this, param tapa means the conqueror of he is referring Arjuna, the conqueror, the enemies, aprapya means without attaining, mama means me, nirvante means come back, mrityu means death, samsara means perishable material existence, vartamani means in this path, vartamani means in this path. So the translation is, people who have no faith in this dharma are unable to attain me, O conqueror of the enemies. They repeatedly come back to this world in the cycle of birth and death. The Supreme Lord says in this verse that those who choose not to have faith in the spiritual path remain of divine wisdom, and they lack the divine wisdom and continue rotating in the cycle of life and death. So they will not attain the divine wisdom and continue rotating in the cycle of life and death. Those who are not faithful on the path of devotional service cannot attain me, or conqueror of foes, but return to birth and death in this material world. This is the translation. So, what Lord Shri Krishna is saying, faith is can be created by, we should associate with devotees. We should attend satsangs. So then we can attain the faith. Even after hearing all the evidences of Vedic literature from great personalities, still we have no faith in God. They are hesitant. They cannot stay fixed in the devotional service of Lord. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam, it is stated in the chapter 4. And if we have faith, then only we can get the jnana. Here in this verse is nothing but referred as dharma. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, it is stated that by giving water to the root of a tree, its branches, leaves, twigs become satisfied. And by supplying food to the stomach, all the senses of the body become satisfied. Similarly, by engaging in the transcendental service of Supreme Lord, all the demigods, all the living entities automatically become satisfied. When we help people around us, environment will become good for us only. So it is similarly, like if we plant, if we water the root, the leaves, twigs, and the branches become satisfied. Same way, if we do service to the mankind, then the God and the living beings become automatically satisfied. So we should believe in the service to mankind. No matter how wonderful the knowledge and how effective the path, it remains useless to one who refuses to walk on it. So first thing is we should have a faith. Example, if someone says that outside moon view is beautiful, the person who is saying we should believe him first, then we will get up and go and say outside. So similarly, it starts with faith, then we have Shraddha. Then next is Shraddha. First is faith, to walk in the path of spirituality. And so we have seen there are so many kinds of devotees who just go to the temples and all, seeing others, and who in if they face some problem they go to temple, and some only a few people will have a faith in the spirituality, faith in the God. They remain in that spiritual path, but others, they may again stop going to temple and believing in God. Who yeah So what Lord Krishna is saying, there is a process of perceiving him. For everything there is a process. For perceiving the God also there is a process. If we are willing to have faith and follow the process, we'll then get to the direct perception of God and become God realized. Belief in God is not natural process. He says it is not natural process that we as human beings just follow. We have to exercise our free will and actively make a decision, have a faith in God. So in the chapter 12, he has said that there are so many steps to fix the mind on God and submit our intellect. If we have to exercise our free will, discipline our mind to fix the mind on God. So we see so many times the evidences there is a God. Like example, in the assembly of Kauravas, when Dushasana endeavored the disrobe of Draupadi, Lord Krishna came and saved Draupadi by lengthening her sari. All Kauravas present saw this miracle but refused to have a faith in the present Sri Krishna, and they didn't believe this. They have seen the he saved Draupadi, but still Kauravas, they didn't believe Lord Sri Krishna. The Supreme Lord says in this verse, uh, those who choose not to have faith in the spiritual path remain uh, bereft of divine wisdom and continue rotating in the cycle of life and death. So often, in the material world, we judge delivers the judgment. We just trust him that he just checked the evidences and everything, and he delivers the judgment. And one more is president. He won't. President administers the country on the basis of reports. He won't walk each village and check what is going on. But on the report produced to him, he'll administer the country. So even the material activities, faith is required at every step. So when there is a faith, we believe in that. So the Bible states that we walk by faith, not by sight. So if we have faith, there is a God, then we get the knowledge and jnana. That's what the meaning. Okay, so I'll just read out the verse again. Ashraddhana purushaha dharmasyasa param tapa aprapya ma nivruttante mrityu samsara vartamani. Here in the previous verse, jnana, we said it is the king of knowledge and all. Here we are saying it as dharma. Both are same only, dharma and jnana. So this is about the verse 3. Any questions? Param tapa means the word param tapa means who don't have enemies, who conquer enemies.
Yes, yes, Auntie. I think it is an epithet of Arjuna where he's considered as the more heated aspect. Like the more tapa is the heating aspect, and param tapa is a supreme heat, one who scorches his enemies. That kind of a meaning. I think
Yeah.
the emphasis on this shloka is on the faith of on the dharma that he talks about in the first two shlokas. Am I correct, Auntie?
Yeah. We should have faith, then shraddha, then we can walk in this path, path of spirituality and attain, enjoy, yeah, divinity and everything. That's what he is saying. And who don't believe in God or who don't believe in spirituality, they again have to take birth on this perishable world till they get the knowledge, gnana. Yeah, they have to. They will be repeatedly coming back to the world, and that's what he is saying.
True.
Yeah, who have knowledge, gnana, they get moksha.
Yes, yes, Auntie.
Anyone who wants to add any points, anything to this verse?
Sairam Sharma,
Sairam uncle.
Sri Krishna dwells on the firmness of faith. That is the grandeur of this particular verse. So he starts with saying, Ashraddhadana. Shraddha is faith. Shraddha
Yeah.
bhakti samanvitaha. So Ashraddha means those who are faithless. So here is where Rabindranath Tagore explained or tells that Tagore is an artistic individual who rose into the celestial ranks by his own austerities with Shantiniketan and so on. So he says about faith, I like the really. Let me read. Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark. Let me read that again for those who may not have registered it totally. Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark. So it has the faith that the light will follow through the darkness and does not give up that, oh, it's all dark, so the life is over. And so it doesn't give up like that. So it's a very poetic way of ruminating on the power of faith. A child has faith in its mother. Who told the child? You see, TGK uncle used to tell us all those narratives in which a fresh-born baby comes to suckle on the breast of the mother in the middle of the night when no one is around and no knowledge is given. It's all, you may say it is an instinct, but it is more of a faith. The bond of life is such that it regenerates and strengthens and provides. And faith is the basis, as Swami says later on. You will see here also when Sai Swarup talks about Gita Vahini. There he talks about the basis of the universe. The Shrishtikarta, the creator, an ordinary person goes about life earning a living, taking care of the hunger in the stomach and paying bills and things like this. And they go through this cycle of living and dying. That is at the object level. There is no subject or the Atma which is born out of the Shrishtikarta, the creator of the universe. So this is a very nice thing that that Sri Krishna has taken the time to hit the nail on its head, right, with the very first word, Ashriddhana, the faithless people. So they keep going through the Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. So Mrityu is death, the life and death, that at the object level. So I would like to highlight and emphasize on this particular verse or shloka on this
Yeah, thank you, Uncle. Thank you for the explanation.
yeah, without that life has a very finite end. The infiniteness, the grandeur or the jyoti is provided in that faith of the creator, that is Brahman. The universe is the Brahman. So that Purushartham is emphasized, highlighted. Thank you.
Covering the 12th chapter, so then we can move on to the 13th chapter. So Swami talks about how all forms of strength should be free from desire and attachment. Swami says everyone has to exercise vitality or paurusha, for without it, life itself is impossible. Living is struggling, striving, achieving. God created people to wield the talent of vitality and achieve victory. His purpose is not to make people consumers of food, a burden upon the earth, or animals that are slave to the senses. He does not aim at creating a horde of idlers and loungers who shy at hard work, accumulate fat, and grow into monstrous shapes. So here Swami talks about how without the constant motion or the constant activity, that is the karma that Swami talks about. If without action, then life doesn't exist. So his intention, that is the Lord's intention, is not to create people who are just consumers and people without gratitude, so that they become a burden on earth, and they keep taking things and they are not giving anything back. So he does not want to create people like that, and that is not sustainable as well. So Swami says he does not create people with the idea that they should be, while alive, ignore their creator, deny Atma and wander about like animals, allowing both intelligence and discrimination to go to waste, moving about without an iota of gratitude to the giver of all the gifts that they consume and enjoy. He continues on the same. He says, creation also punishes those who exploit it for self-aggrandizement, saying, this is mine, that too is mine, that belongs to those who belong to me. And he says, she punishes heavily those who break her code. That is why Krishna describes to Arjuna the way of contemplation or upasana in great detail. For worship is using creation to reach the Lord who transcends it. So here Swami says again, creation also punishes people who are just too much into like, this is mine, that is mine, and people who think everything belongs to them, people who are basically greedy. And he also says creation punishes people who break her code. So Swami says the only way to get out of this kind of the chaotic situation is to contemplate on the Lord, and that is, he talks about upasana. So worship and all those rituals is the way to reach the Lord who is above all that material plane. Then Swami says, Arjuna, many people anxious to offer uninterrupted worship to me go into the thick forest. This is an insane step. There is no need to seek the jungle as if I am only there. There is no place where I am not. There is no form that is not mine. I am the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Where can you find a place devoid of one or other of these 5? There is no special place to experience my presence and my glory, for I am everything, everywhere, ever. The fiery nature of fire is I myself. I am life in all living beings. I am the strength of the strong, the strength that is free from greed and lust. Mine is the nature that prompts beings to desire dharmic things and means. So here Swami says about how people who are very anxious to reach the Lord, they go into the forest and do tapas and all those things. So that is completely unnecessary. And he says just the 5 elements are a manifestation of himself, and there is no place on earth where the 5 elements are not there. So there is no special place that we need to go to in order to, like people say we need to go under the Bodhi tree to meditate. We need to sit under the banyan tree in order to gain the moksha or to gain wisdom. So that kind of thought process is wrong. So Swami says he's everywhere basically, and he can go. Anyone just needs to realize that they are. Swami is in all the living beings, and he is. He says that I am the nature of fire. I am the fiery nature of fire, and I am the strength in the strong people, and I am that strength which is free from greed and lust. So Swami also says that I am the prompting of people that leads them to the dharmic paths and ways. And then Swami says, of course, when I say strength, I mean the strength of the intellect, buddhi. For the world knows many varieties of strength. Strength of riches, born of wealth. Strength of education, born of scholarship. Strength of people coming from the consciousness, that one has a large following. Strength of mind arising from one's determination. Physical strength, which is just muscular force, etc. All these are to be considered as mine, for I am the Supreme Lord. However, all forms of strength have to be free from desire and attachment. If desire and attachment adhere, then it becomes bestial strength, not divine. It is animal strength. It's not the strength of the Lord of animals. So here Swami again says that there are different kinds of strength, but what Swami means by strength in that context is the strength of the intellect or the buddhi. So here Swami says there are strength like the wealth, that is the strength of riches. Then there is strength of education which is born from scholarship or the bookish knowledge. And then Swami says there is strength of people, or that is a strength that comes from the consciousness. So then he says about the strength of mind, which is the one's determination. and physical strength, which is just the force of the physical body. And he was talking about the strength of buddhi or intellect, the discriminatory power. And then Swami says, if desire and all these strengths have to be free from desire and anger and attachment, because if they are like attached to these kinds of strengths, then that becomes animalistic strength, and that is not that does not have any divinity with it. So Swami then says desire kama means the desire to possess a thing that is so strong that even when there is no chance of securing it, the mind hankers for it. Attachment, raga, is the feeling that a thing must be in one's possession, even though it is evident that it cannot be there long. For it is, after all, an evanescent thing. Ranjana, enjoyment, is the root word for the word raga, attachment. Ranjana indicates the capacity to give pleasure. Any form of strength that is polluted by either of these two cannot claim the dignity of divinity. So here Swami talks about desire. So there is two types of things that Swami talks about. One is kama, the other one is raga. So Swami says kama is something that is the kind of desire that we have to possess material things. So that is so strong that if we want to achieve something that is, even if it does not exist, we feel the need for that kind of a thing. So that is the basic definition of kama. Then Swami talks about raga as a feeling, that is attachment. So it is the feeling that although even if something is with us and it does not exist for long with us, we have that feeling that it should be with us, like it is attachment or possessiveness that Swami talks about. So Swami says Ranjana is the root word of attachment, that is raga. So Ranjana is the capacity to give pleasure. So any kind of strength that is polluted by these kinds of things, it can never be divine. So then Swami goes on to say, some forms of strength attain height or depth according to the status they are allotted by their owners. Consider, for example, riches. If riches reach a wicked person, they create vanity, pride, cruelty, and contempt. If they are with a good person, they are directed along the paths of charity and good works. The wicked use physical strength to injure others, while the good use it to protect others from harm. So again, Swami continues to say how the kinds of strength either attain glory or bad name according to the kind of people that they are being used by. For instance, Swami says for riches, good people use riches to give charity, while evil people who have wicked intentions, they try to cause problems with the wealth that they have, and they use it for selfish reasons, or they use it for hurting others and those kinds of things. And same with physical strength as well. So Swami says, Krishna said that even anger and greed are not opposed to dharma, are forms of expressions of the divine. Therefore, why repeat it 1,000 times? All feelings, all forms, all things and beings are born out of the higher para and the lower apara nature of the same divine essence. But to have higher feelings and emotions, you must accustom yourself to see my form in the higher feelings, higher forms, and higher beings. Still, you must not get away with the idea that only the higher is divine and the lower is not. So here Swami says, like for example, in the Mahabharata war, we can say that violence is being used, but it is used for the sake of dharma by the side of the Pandavas. So even that is dharmic, and it is an aspect of the divine to do that. So anger and greed that are expressed for the sake of dharma are just expressions of the divine. But if they are not, then that is something that is not divine, and that is materialistic aspects of the same thing. So Swami says there are two kinds of things for everything in the universe have two types. So one is para, which is higher kind of the thing, same thing, and apara is the lower form of the same thing. So here Swami says both para and apara are still part of the same divinity, the same supreme super soul, or the Paramatma, or the supreme personality of Godhead. But people think that only the higher forms are associated with the supreme personality, but Swami says both are associated with the same. And then Swami continues, that is not correct. The objective world with all its pure, sattvic, passionate, rajasic and dull tamasic things reactions and impulses all originate in God. This conviction can grow in you and get firmly fixed only by reasoning it out and getting its truth affirmed. So he continues the same. So thinking only the higher or the para forms of the things are associated with God is wrong. So Swami says all the sattvic, rajasic and tamasic, everything originates from God. So Swami says only by logical reasoning and experiencing that we can get this truth convicted in our mind. We can be convinced of this truth only if we do that kind of a logical reasoning and the effort to know everything with logic. And Swami says all this originated from me, all this exists in me, but I am not dependent on it. Remember, I am unattached to all of this. Here there are 2 points of view, the souls and the lords. The soul has the dual experience of good and bad, but the Lord has no duality at all. When all is God, when God is the inner Atma in all, how can there be two, one good and another bad? Now, ordinary folk may get some doubts on this point. The Lord says that all things, both good and bad, originated from Him and that He is the prime cause. But at the same time, He declares that He is neither bound nor affected by the effects and defects of all that has thus originated. He says He has no relationship with them and He is above and beyond that for which He is the cause. So here Swami talks about how all has originated from Him and He is all that is dependent on Him, but He is not attached to that or He is not dependent on it. So here Swami says about two points of view. So when we look at a certain thing, we judge it as either good or bad, but in Swami's point of view that it is neither good nor bad. Like how Swami says, I'm just the postman, I just give whatever is the result, but I don't have any kind of attachment to that kind of a result. So Swami says people like both good and bad originated from Him, but Swami has no such effect or defect. So He has no relationship. So He is above and beyond all that thing for which He is the prime cause. And then Swami also talks about how people can move from bad things that they have done by saying that it is responsible everything the Lord is responsible. He talks about how Swami says you might infer that people are also are not in the least responsible for the good and evil done through them by divine, that their real nature is beyond both good and evil, that their acts, however evil, were basically prompted by the Lord Himself, for people have nothing that they can claim as their act. But faith in this attitude that nothing is done by you, that it is all the Lord's will that is being worked through you, must be steady, sincere, deep and unshaken. There should be no trace of ego. If that is so, then certainly such a one has attained the highest goal of life. One is blessed to the utmost. That reality has to be known, that knowledge has to be stabilized. Indeed, those who have the conviction that all this is God, that they have no sort of relationship or kinship with the objective world, that they are above and beyond it, are true souls, Satya Jivis, the individuals whose sojourn here have been worthwhile. So here Swami says, again, people who are like unshaken by both things, like for either good that happens through them and evil that is like so-called evil that happens through them. Everything is the Lord's will and completely surrender to the Lord. And again, just like how one does acts, similarly, good and bad consequences should also be should be surrendered to the Lord. So Swami says, if we give up all kind of ego and if we have this attitude completely and steadily and stay like unshaken deep faith, if we have in this concept, then that is the supreme goal of life. That kind of a person is definitely blessed, and that kind of the achievement is the most supreme one. But then he continues, words, however, are futile. You may repeat certain set of phrases like a parrot that has been taught for a long time. Like everything is the Lord's, I am but a puppet, and He pulls the strings and I dance as He wills. Nothing is mine, I am just carrying out His will. But what you usually do, you claim praiseworthy acts for your own and ascribe blameworthy acts to the prompting of the Lord. You shout from platforms till your throat gets dry, that by your own effort you won honor, fame, status and standards, authority and position, property and possessions, attainments and achievements. But when it comes to confessing your share in earning ill fame and defeat, evil and wrong, you conveniently transfer the responsibility to the Lord, saying, I am but an instrument in His hands. He is the master. I am but a tool. This has become the habit today. It has developed into a fashion. People swing from I to he like a pendulum of the clock. This is sheer deceit, hollow spiritual sham. So this is what Swami was talking about. He says that when it comes to good things, we claim all the results and we take it to our own name, but we try to be hypocritical when it comes to the bad things, and we say that okay, the Lord is responsible for that, and I am not. I didn't do that. I'm just carrying out His will. I am a puppet, and all those kinds of things. But that's not the right thing, is what Swami says. So that kind of a thing is like a parrot. We have been just repeating things that are happening, and that has absolutely no meaning. Then Swami says, mind, word, and act, all three must be filled with the belief that all is His play. That is the genuine path. It is a human frailty to separate things into good and evil. To impute this to God is sacrilege. Sometimes it might appear that the Lord also has that weakness, but it is a passing phase, a cloud that hides its glory, it's His glory, and not a blemish that adheres to Him. Although qualities emanate from the Lord, He is unaffected. Smoke arises from fire, but fire is unaffected. Clouds form and move about in the sky, but the sky is unaffected by them. All are attached to Him like beads, but He is free, unattached. The universe is based on Him, but He has no need for the universe as a base. So here Swami continues with the same thing. He says that we should be completely filled with the belief that everything is His play, and if it is just our misunderstanding to separate things into good and evil, and saying that okay, the Lord has done an evil act, that kind of an attitude is completely wrong. And Swami says we might look at like the Lord has faults, but that's not the true thing. But when we realize the truth, we'll know that that is not the right attitude. Then Swami says how like the beads attached to a string, all the beads need the string, but the string in turn does not need the beads to support itself. Similarly, the universe is based on the Lord, but He has no need for the universe. Then Swami says, he gives again the example of cloth. Take the example of cloth. Cloth is based on yarn. It is dependent on yarn, but yarn does not depend on cloth. It is unaffected and unattached to the cloth. The pot depends on clay, but clay is independent. Again, cloth is yarn, pot is clay. Clay is Brahman, the pot is creation. Yarn is Brahman, the cloth is creation. The universe of manifold variety. So he gives the two examples again, like cloth and the pot, how they are dependent on yarn. And the cloth is basically yarn, but again the pot is basically clay. But the thing is, the clay or the yarn does not need the cloth to be existing in their own forms. Similarly, Swami says, ignore the shape, the form, and the name. The pot is just clay. Ignore the form of the cloth and the name. Observe the basic things that stays in and through the cloth. Then you know it is but yarn. Without clay, you have no pot. Without yarn, there can be no cloth. So too, without Brahman, there can be no creation. It is truer to say that all is Brahman than to say Brahman is in everything. It is grander to picture Brahman as the basis of all Sarvadhara rather than to conceive it as the inner reality of all beings. That is the truth. So here Swami gives a different, like a different perspective on Brahman. He says that it is more apt to say that Brahman, all is Brahman, rather than saying Brahman exists as the inner reality of all being. Swami says all is Brahman, everything is Brahman, and it is the basis of all. So that is the truth. Then we move on to the 13th chapter, Sairam. I'll try to cover the first and second topics today. We can go to the next topics during next week. So the four topics in this chapter are: first one is faulty vision. So Arjuna asks about faulty vision and delusion. Then again we go into the types of devotees and the kinds of train that they are on. And the fourth topic is the wise person experiences that Vasudeva is all this. So again, it is the concept that we talked about at the last. Believe that he is the cause and all is his play, the same thing. How everything is Brahman, the same thing is reiterated in the next chapter as well. So here Swami talks about what is a faulty vision. We go look at how the basis and the base a little bit here. So the universe itself is a superstructure, the basis being the Godhead. This is apparent, the other is the real. People ignore the basis and crave for the base. They do not stop to inquire how the base can exist without a base. This too is an example of faulty vision. When this faulty vision is set right, the author of this universe can be cognized. The subject was raised by Arjuna before Krishna. He asked, "What exactly is faulty vision? Please tell me in detail, Krishna." He sought to know how the fault originates and develops. Now, Arjuna was not just an ordinary individual. He was not one to nod his head whatever was told to him. He was bold enough to stop Krishna in the middle of a sentence if he felt like a doubt was arising in his mind. He had the courage and steadfastness needed. He persisted until he got from Krishna an answer that was verifiable by experience, that was in accordance with the wisdom enshrined in the scriptures. So the Lord also provided those answers immediately with a smile. So we go into what is faulty vision by Lord Krishna. So Swami says about delusion. For this question on faulty vision, Krishna had an answer. He said, listen Arjuna, between me and this universe, there moves delusion or Maya. It is indeed a hard task for one to see beyond delusion, for delusion is also mind. It is of the same substance. You cannot deem it separate from me. It is my creation and under my control. It will turn even the mightiest among people head over heels in a trice. You might wonder why it is so difficult to overcome. Of course, it is by no means easy. Only those who are wholeheartedly attached to me can conquer this by delusion. Arjuna, do not take delusion to mean some ugly thing that has descended from somewhere else. It is an attribute of the mind. It makes you ignore the true and the highest, eternal highest Atma and value instead the attribute full created manifold multiplicity of name and form. It causes the error of believing the body as the self instead of the embodied. Delusion is not something that was and will disappear, nor is it something that was not but later came in and is. It never was or is or will be. So here Swami replies about delusion or Maya. So Swami says it is really hard to look beyond Maya, for it is the same substance as the Lord himself, and it cannot be seen as a separate entity. So Swami says even the most supreme and the most realized people can be easily swept away by the current of Maya. So Swami says only people who are wholeheartedly attached to me, like Ananyas Chintayanto, those kind of devotees who are always constantly contemplating on the Lord, they can conquer Maya. So Swami says it is not something that is like ugly or something that needs to be like fought against on one, or it is something that one has to conquer, or it is not something that has to be understood and something like that. So Swami says it is a part of the Supreme Paramatma, and it is also the part of the mind. So Swami says it is an aspect of the mind, and it is something that makes you like it causes this delusion that makes us see the multiple names and forms. That is the many names and forms that exist as the real universe that we see. So that is just the vision that the Maya causes, and the delusion is. Swami also says that delusion is not something that will disappear in some time, or that came into existence at some point of time. Swami says that it never was there, it will never be there, but it is just a part of the mind. So it will keep on existing as long as the mind is not eradicated. So at this point, I think we can conclude for today, Sai Ram. If there is anything that needs to be discussed, we can have a discussion. Jai Sai Ram.
Yeah, the delusion or the Maya, that is more explained in the Durga Saptashati, the attachment we have, the needs, the sleep, oversleeping and everything, that is due to Maya. That is control. In that the Saptashati, it is mentioned that she has the control over the Maya. Due to that Maya, we oversleep. We have like we say that this is my son, this is my daughter, and yeah, that Maya is more explained in that the Durga Saptashati.
Oh, okay, auntie. I'll take a look at the Durga Saptashati, and I'll if possible, I'll try to if I get the meanings as well, I can kind of cover that during next week's session, if possible.
Yeah, sure.
Sairam. Thank you for the information.
Yes, I know.
You see, the Sairam,
Sairam, Uncle Sairam.
yeah, it's by grace of God one is able to recognize that God is the only reality and nothing else.
True.
And that removes the Maya from the faulty vision that he is talking about. So in Bhajagovindam, Lord Shankara, Adi Shankara said this, Maya mayam idam akhilam hitva brahmapadam tvam pravisha viditva. So when the Brahman is recognized as the creator of the entire universe, and Maya is used, as Swami said, and as Sai Swarup shared, to quell the arrogance or the imputed qualities of human beings. But the same human being, as Sharda Ati said, through Durga Saptashati, all it means is Durga is Durgati Nashini, Durga, the Shakti. She is the Maya Shakti as well, because Maya cannot have its energy without the bestower, namely the goddess herself. So that is the whole idea of Durga Saptashati, that they perform the Chandi Homam at the end and get the energies of Durga to overcome the faulty vision and recognize that one is oneself divine. So Maya can make the real as unreal and the unreal as the real. That is the fault in the vision. Whereas with a divine grace or Swami's grace, one sees the real as the real and the unreal as the unreal. So with that I will stop. Jai Sai Ram.
Sairam, Uncle. Thank you for mentioning the Bhajagovindam Shlokam as well. I'll try to cover that also during next week's Bhagavad Gita study circle.
No problem. Thank you.
Sairam.
Sai Ram.
Sairam, I hope we can conclude for the day if there are no other questions or any feedback, Sairam.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, auntie. I'll conclude with Om and Three Shantis. Om Shanti. Sairam, everyone. See you all
Sai
tomorrow.
Ram, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram.
Loka
Uncle's session, Sai Ram.
Ino Bhavantu
Sai Ram,
Sarve
Sai Ram.
Janaah Sukhino
Sairam Sai Swarup,
Bhavantu.
Sairam Sardhati, both of you have presented very well. It was very
Sai Ram,
nice.
Sai Ram.
Thank